Yeah, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for our Man United FA Cup preview is AJ. How you doing, buddy?
All good, all good.
Mozza, how you doing, mate?
Very good, thank you.
And joining us for this as well is Drew. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Ash.
Good. Obviously, you weren't in with our Wolves review, so we're going into this game slightly more positive than we would have been after the Palace game on the weekend. So we'll try to keep that positivity and that good feeling going, and we'll talk about it. AJ, I'm going to come to you first, mate. Question I ask you every single week. We know we made quite a few changes going into the Wolves game during the week. We all think mainly with an eye to this FA Cup game on the weekend. What are you expecting squad-wise going into the game against United on Sunday?
Expecting more changes in personnel, but actually retaining the formation. United's play a back three, back five system. I think we'll match it. We'll just have a change in personnel going back to our more traditional Robinson, Bassey, etc. And equally, due to our injuries in midfield, I think retaining the back three, back five system is probably what Marco will look to do, considering the circumstances. That and Manchester United are in a similar position to Wolves in that their firepower is quite lacking. They scraped through against Ipswich thanks to goals from their defenders as opposed to their forwards. And I think it's safe to say that that's likely to be a case if they are going to be threatening in the FA Cup game as well, that their forwards won't be as much to worry about as they would hope.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You know, we know we've played United twice this season, and both of those games have been frustrating as hell to sort of be a part of as a fan, because we've not played badly in both games. Well, that's a lie. We were really bad in the game at Craven Cottage, but you know, we've not been blown away by United in either of those two games that we played against them so far this season. We've been really unlucky to lose both those games. Although, as I say, we didn't deserve much any like to win the game at Craven Cottage anyway. But they've even got even more weakness now. They've got a couple of players that are out injured. You know, hopefully, you know, we should have the fire in our belly. There's a couple of players in the squad going into this game on Sunday. You would hope have really, really got a fire in their belly to do something. You know, Marco should have the fire to sort of correct what is and was still one of the most unbelievable weekends of football that we've all seen. Last time we played Man United at Old Trafford in the FA Cup, you know, Willian will probably want to correct something there as well, considering he was part of that whole debacle. You know, we have no Serbian striker to sort of have to worry about fixing his mistakes he made in that game. But, you know, we have some ghosts, some demons to put to bed in this fixture. Mozza, with that in mind, how do we approach this game on Sunday? You know, we know we have to win it. We know there's no replay. There's no chance of bringing it back. How important is it that we just sort of take the game to United, especially looking at their weaknesses going into the game?
I think if we were to ever do it, and you've already said that we played them twice, obviously in the league, if we were to ever do it and beat them, it would be this game. I think there's so much potential. Is it weird for me to say as well that I actually feel a bit more confident we're going to Old Trafford rather than it being at the Cottage? I can't quite put my finger on why that is. I feel like there's almost a bit more motivation, a bit more of a fight. And we often perform well against the bigger teams. I was going to say top six, but let's just class the top six as we know it, with United usually being in that. I think we have a reputation for performing quite well away against them. Yeah. Obviously, we're still in a bit of contention for Europe in the league, but we spoke about it a few podcasts ago about getting some silverware or getting as far as we can in this tournament. I think we can do it. My only worry is if we beat them, and who knows however United's season will end, Amarin's out the door, will they then try and snap up Marco Silva? So everything's always bittersweet being a Fulham fan, isn't it? But I'm feeling confident. Formation, I don't see it changing too much as it was when we played Wolves, and we discussed obviously Sasha Lukic's ban in the league. So you yourself, Ash, said that he would definitely be in this game, so I'd expect that too. So yeah, I reckon we'll see a big performance from him. I think maybe Iwobi starting over Sessegnon as well. But my only other thoughts are, will we see Muniz start over Jimenez? I don't know how I feel about that one. Those are my current thoughts anyway, initially.
Yeah, no, I can sort of see where you're coming from there. I think that I think this is the round where our rotation in the league and FA Cup changes. I know that we played a relatively weaker team against Wigan. We played a relatively weaker team against Watford. Probably to be expected considering the league differences between the two teams. Yes, we're going to see rotation from the last game, but that's only because we made so many changes going into the Wolves game, and we sort of were all expecting that most of those changes were actually made with Sunday in mind, not the Wolves game in mind. We saw formation change on Tuesday night that we all believed was probably just because of available personnel. And I agree with AJ that I do think that we'll probably keep that formation for this game because of the way that United set up and United play. And, if we're going to want to attack quickly, then we're going to need to. Drew, sort of going into this game, mate, I know that we really want to right some wrongs against United, especially the games going into this season, or that we play so far this season. What are your thoughts going into the game come the weekend?
I think that the lineup against Wolves was, ironically enough, we talked about the need to rotate because the team looked stale. I think it was a combination of necessity and pragmatism, with one eye on the United game as well. I think Fulham will rightly go to Old Trafford. If I was Silva, I would be stoking up the sense of injustice that was left after both games, which neither of which we deserve to lose. I will be devastated if we lose to them 3 times in one season, because they are a poor side. Unlike the rest of you, I'm not entirely convinced that we're going to go with 3 at the back. I do wonder if Silva's going to revert to type. What I do expect is that I think we're going to be. I just got a feeling that we're going to go there and try and be very positive. I just have a hunch that we're going to go there and try and be very positive. And Mozza made a good point about it may suit us, it being at Old Trafford, because United, the onus is going to be on them to come at us, which may help us. I'm not convinced he's gonna keep the three at the back. He may do, but I think that he's definitely going to go there to win. Definitely going to go there to win. I'll be very surprised if we just try and hit him on the break. I've got a feeling about this, because I think everyone inside that club, i.e. Fulham, thinks they're due something against United. That's how I perceive it, which is why I think they might just revert to their usual flat back 4 and the double pivot in midfield.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, if I was anyone at Fulham this week, I would be showing them all that 10 minutes of madness at Old Trafford that we faced last time in the FA Cup, mainly just to remind them that how positive everyone was, especially the fans that were at Old Trafford that day. We put in an absolutely stellar performance against a much stronger United team than what we're seeing today. And we're a much stronger team than we were that day too. And then you look at what we went from looking really comfortable at Old Trafford, looking like we were going to get through to the FA Cup, and then Willian handballs it, Mitrovic gets sent off, and before we know it, we've lost 2 players and a manager, 2 red cards in the space of 2.5 minutes. I would be stoking up that level of injustice back into the players to realise that we need to right that wrong, and it would be really nice to knock United out of the FA Cup, mainly because if they don't win the FA Cup this year, they won't be in Europe unless they win anything in Europe. They're not going to do any. They're not going to be in Europe next season. They've got a big week ahead in terms of two big European games for them. We could potentially stop them from getting a Europe through domestic football this season by winning, because they're not going to do it in the league. And we should see that as a good thing for us and a way of sort of correcting those wrongs. We've all been really angry about games that we played against United this season. We were all really frustrated about the 1-0 loss at Old Trafford first game of the season, because we played really, really well. They had one moment of football where they actually played any cohesive football and they scored from it. And the game at Craven Cottage, as bad as we were, they were just as bad. They managed to get a goal from a lucky deflection off a player that should have been sent off 20 minutes beforehand. So it's one of those things that it's frustrating. We've had two really frustrating games against United this season. And I'm with Drew. The idea of losing 3 times this woeful United team in 1 year, scares me, because it shouldn't be happening, and we should definitely be putting a performance in. So let's look at this United team. And I've seen the highlights of their game against Ipswich during the week, and they've got a goalkeeper, United, that if we aren't going into a game thinking we can score against, then I don't know what is. They've got probably the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen Man United have in my lifetime, for sure. They look like they got mistakes in them. They've got 3 good centre backs, which they have to play and which they will play. But the rest of their squad looks gettable. Looks like we can actually make an imprint on. I don't know about you, AJ. Sort of looking at that United squad, and other than Bruno Fernandes and maybe Garnacho, if he plays, not sure after the way he reacted about getting subbed off on during the week. We shouldn't really be that worried, should we?
We shouldn't, but it's very typical of us to give players that don't score the opportunity to do so. Wolves Gomez hadn't scored in I don't know how long, and we obviously conceded to him. Granted, it was one hell of a goal, but that's the sort of thing in these cup games that make the difference. It's those small chance opportunities, similar to that we conceded at Craven Cottage with the deflected goal. Those, if anything, are going to be more important and more prominent in a cup game like this, as opposed to the league game where you could have suggested that we might have actually played more cohesive football. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on not making mistakes. You mentioned obviously using what happened last time against United in the cup to rile up the Fulham lot and get them eager to play and to want to take something from this United side. But at the same time, Marco will be saying to them, you need to remain composed as well and not let these things happen again. Don't let the opportunity to actually take the sword to them be a double-edged sword and bite us back. We need to make sure that we don't overcommit, we don't make silly mistakes, and we definitely don't get ourselves boiled up to a point where we see instances like those red cards happen again. So yeah, as much as I agree, we do need to use it as a teaching moment for the side and use it as motivation. We do need to be careful about sort of not making those mistakes again in big cup games. I'd argue that the game at Craven Cottage felt like usual cup ties do between 2 Premier League sides. So I think we might see a lot of the same, just hopefully with a much better result.
Yeah, I think we have to look. I understand what you're saying. I think you have to look at it that way. I think that we have to try and make sure we go in definitely with the right temperament for this game. And I agree with what Drew said about the need to want to go into this game attacking and play our game and effectively take this game to United, because when we won at Old Trafford last season, yes, we scored a last minute winner, but we took the game to United the whole game, and because of that, we managed to sort of stay competitive and stay in it. I was worried come Tuesday night that United still have a few outlet players that could do a lot of damage. Rather ironically, the one player I was really concerned about was Patrick Durgu, who now can't play because he's suspended after getting sent off. So, it's one of those things that a lot of things have fallen in line for us in this game. And we'll see how we react to it, and we have to look at it that way. Lads, we'll finish this pod how we always finish our match previews. We'll look at a player to watch from both teams and a scoreline prediction. But before we do that, there is obviously the big question about the amount of Fulham fans that go into this game on Sunday. I've been reliably informed that we haven't actually bought that many tickets, which is fantastic news if you ask me. Because I'm absolutely disgusted at the way Man United priced this game. And we know that we're part of the reason why they've done that, because they're using our pricing structure to justify theirs. You thought they maybe would have learned after the game against Leicester not to do what they've done, but they've managed to make the tickets even more expensive. So that's impressive there. If you are one of the Fulham fans going to the game on Sunday, be loud, be proud, obviously follow the team. Hopefully you get a result, and we'll go through it that way. Lads, let's look at it now. Players to watch from either team. I'm hoping going to perform this one. Mozza, I'm going to come to you first, mate, as I always do when we start these ones. Give us a United player to watch out for, a Fulham player you're expecting to have a good game, and then give me the dreaded scoreline prediction, please.
I should never be allowed to do any more score predictions because I don't think I've got one right the whole time we've been doing the podcast. However, to start with Man United players to watch, I think I've said this both times as well when we played them in the Premier League. Bruno Fernandes. I'm sorry, that's really boring as an answer, but something about that bloke. I was going to say it's not personal, but I just feel like he's going to do us. For Fulham, though, I really don't know who to pick out of this squad. It really depends on who's going to start. So I'm not too sure what my answer is. And if I, again, can be boring, I don't know who to pick. Gun to my head, Traore, if he starts, because he has been on fire recently, I think he will be quite a big threat to them. So that's my pick. Scoreline prediction, blimey. God. I've got 1-0 in my head and I've got 3-2 in my head, but what way it goes, I don't know. Let me dream the dream. As we go to the theatre of dreams, I'm going to say 3-2 Fulham.
Okay. Drew, how about yourself, mate? You've got a player to watch for both teams in the scoreline prediction.
Unfortunately, Mozza's pick of Fernandes is actually quite accurate because he's had about 3 assists in his last 2 games, and he's got about 23 goal involvements for the whole season. He seems to be hitting a bit of form. I mean, their last 10 games, they've won 6, drawn 1. So they haven't been disastrous, whereas we've won 4 of our last 5. I really, really want to pick Fulham in this. I really do. But United just seem to, there's something about them. They just seem to have luck. I don't think they're a good team, but I think they're a lucky team. That's what worries me. For Fulham, as Mozza says, depends who starts. I imagine Silva will probably go for the tried and trusted Raul up front, but I'd like to see Muniz play. I really would. He gives us an energy and enthusiasm and a dynamism and a strength that we have sorely missed and was prevalent against Wolves. So I'll pick Muniz for us. Scoreline. My head tells me it's going to be United by the odd goal, but I just hope we go there and murder them. I really do. So all of their fans, just can shut up for at least one day. But yeah, my head says United. My heart is hoping for a resounding Fulham win. When I say resounding, I'm talking by about 3 clear goals. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, well, I'll take a 98th minute 1-0 win. I don't really care as long as we do. But, a 3-0 win I would definitely take. I think everyone would. AJ, what about yourself, mate? Give us a player to watch from each team. Scoreline prediction, please.
Well, I'll start by saying, Drew, you're going to be fresh out of luck either way the result goes, because United fans will just complain about the result. You won't get the luxury of having some silence out of them, unfortunately. In regards to players to watch, I think ironically, Onana is going to be one to watch. He has this habit of either being very good or very shit. He's been very shit of late. Yeah, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Yeah. He's been very shit of late, which would suggest a very good performance against Fulham. Fulham players to watch. Do we start Bender? That's a question that no, I wouldn't have suspected so, but I'm concerned he might. And if he does, what happens there? Does he have a commitment to the player to start him? And does that cause us grief?
Well, I will be highly surprised if Stephen Bender plays on Sunday.
I will too.
I would be highly
concerned.
surprised if Leno's in a car accident on Saturday and Bender still plays on Sunday. That's how shocked I would be if he plays. I just don't see those. I just don't see us being that radical. Not against United away in the FA Cup. I just don't see it.
Yeah, well, I have a sneaking suspicion he might. I hope I'm very wrong, but if he does, he'll be my player to watch for all of the wrong reasons. But if he doesn't, then I assume Raul will start and he'll be my player to watch. Result-wise, I think United take it on penalties, unfortunately. I think it's going to be one of those really annoying games. We might bag a couple of goals, we might concede really late on, and then we just run out of gas and it goes to penalties, and then it's just one of those. However, every time I've predicted us to lose, we've won. So I bet my house on Wolves beating us, and we beat them. So I'll double down and lose the car too on United to beat us. So yeah.
I'm telling you now, if it goes to penalties, if there's any reports of a fat man jumping off a Croydon flyover, it'll be me. Right? Because I can't be dealing with that. Cannot. For me, right. For me, looking at this game, Fernandes is obviously the obvious key for United. The thing I've noticed really weirdly watching last couple of games for them is they've been really heavily relying on set pieces to create an awful lot of their chances. In which case, Harry Maguire and Yoro become really big assets for them, especially attacking wise, because they like to hit slabhead with the ball as much as they can, especially from corners and set pieces. So Maguire would be a player that we'd have to watch out for there. I imagine rather weirdly for a game in which I actually expect will be quite open and quite attacking wise. I actually see that even for us, our centre back pairing is going to be really important and players to watch out for. Anderson's had a couple of really hard weeks playing for us, but I thought he was superb on Tuesday. And I will be interested to see if we go for 3 at the back like we did on Tuesday, or if we revert back to 4 at the back, how he deals with that, because I thought he looked way more comfortable having Diop and Cuenca next to him on Tuesday night. I'd love to see how that goes. So I imagine Anderson and Bassi would be really important for us going into this game, just like I imagine that Maguire and Euro are going to be very important for United going forward. For us, it's going to be obviously defending wise. If we can stay solid at the back, I don't see how we can't win the game. It's that simple for me on this one. United don't offer loads going forward, but they do a lot from set pieces. We need to stay strong and stay resilient and just sort of play our own game, and see how that works for us. Going forward, I imagine we'll see Raul start over Muniz, but mainly just because typically playing against United, you need the outlet, and he's better at giving that outlet than Muniz is at the moment. Although I do agree that Muniz brings a bit of dynamism that Rail doesn't, and there's almost an aspect of you don't know what's going to happen with Muniz, which sometimes you need in order to make stuff happen. But we'll see. Come squad list coming out on Sunday at 1:15, we'll know what to expect from the game, I think, and we'll see how that works for us. Scoreline for us for this one, I'm going to go 2-1 I don't know which way round though. I'm gonna say if United win 2-1, it'll be through some jamminess and a bit of luck. If we win 2-1, it'll be because we've gone 2-0 up and then had to hold on, and we'll see sort of a nervy that last 25, 30 minutes at Old Trafford, like all of us would expect to. You know, as I say, I expect quite an open game, uh, and we'll see how that goes. You know, ultimately, it would be very nice for us to get into the next round of the FA Cup and return to Manchester when we ultimately get drawn against Man City away in the next round. But you know, we'll see how that goes. Guys, thanks very much for joining me on this match preview. Hopefully, come Monday when we do our match review, we'll have some good things to talk about. If you're watching, obviously let us know your scoreline predictions and your players to watch out for, and we'll see what it is. You know, comment on the show. Please do come and subscribe if you haven't done. Like and share it so we can meet and join and get as many Fulham fans joining our community as we can do. Other than that, have a good weekend, guys. Let's hope we're in the FA Cup pack come Monday. We'll see how it goes, eh? Come on, you Whites.